Jeez. Everything crashed right at the beginning. So, there's like a 3-second VOD that got uploaded, but whatever. We still made it work. Alright. We're doing the Guardian Spear today. Got my Prime Pizza shirt on. I'm pumped. Big Weapons Day. Alright. Switch to the painting cam. So we're gonna hit this guy. And same theme. We are doing nasty, horrible metal. Sorry, I had to turn off the autofocus box. There we go. So we're gonna do nasty, horrible metal. As dark as we can get it. And as gross as we can get it. And we're gonna maybe do some gold filigree and then the little leather bit that's right there. Let's get started. We're gonna try using our wonderful new tools. I say new, little piece of sponge. And what are these things? I posted a video of me using it on a cape, but this is like a little grabber tool that comes with like electrical component work. So like you use this to pick up transistors and things like that. But I think it's pretty cool, but it works really well for getting just the right amount of the sponge. We'll be using that today after we do some base coating. So the plan is we're going to make a really dark metal using Vallejo's gunmetal gray mixed with a bit of matte black. So we can get even darker than this is already a pretty dark metallic, but I want it to be a black metal, not just a dark silver. So we're gonna give that a try. See if it works out. Okay. Get a good amount on there right now. And then our matte black. In figure out where I put it. Here it is. Hey shit cam. Add it directly to there. I think one drop might be good, but we'll see if we need more. Let's mix it up. Might be hard to see for you guys. But let's see how well that mixes. I wish I had a black ink to actually mix with this. That would work a lot better. But we're gonna settle for the matte black acrylic. So it did make it a little darker, but I want it even darker than that. See if I can balance the brush. I'll focus up for you guys. Ooh, that was a lot. Probably too much, but we're gonna make it work. There we go. That's a very, very dark, super dark metal. And we're gonna make it look more black when we do our highlighting phase. But this is great for now. Okay. Let's get that out of the way. We'll start putting our base coat right on this weapon. So we don't need to be too neat because we're not getting close to any areas that we can't fix. The only place that could suffer is maybe the this little spear tip, like the gold spear tip, but it's not too hard to fix. Remember, that was just a warm brown that we made, and then the regular gold, the Retributor armor. So that is not difficult at all. And the way that we're gonna make this look black is actually two ways. I don't know why I painted that part. That part is gonna be gold. There's no, actually I shouldn't have. But once that dries, we'll go over that with that brown that we originally had. Just be a little careful here not to do that beautiful glove that we did before. Don't mess up our already finished work. That would be terrible. There we go. So you can see that this is going to dry really, really nice. So this is going to dry really dark, and it may not be dark enough to trick the brain into thinking it's actually black, but the way that we're going to do that is we're going to reverse highlight it. So what I mean by that is we're going to take matte black, and then we're going to gently use that stipple method with the sponge that I showed you earlier in where the darkest areas will be, or where we think that the shadows will be the most intense, and make them more intense with that little stipple. That will make it kind of seem like, oh wow, it gets really dark in those specific areas. So this is the top that we did the base coat on. Now it's a pretty shiny black, and then contrasting with the bottom, see if we can actually see it. Kinda. If I bring it close to the camera. There we go. So there's the non-painted. There's the painted. So still very dark, but has that kind of metallic sheen that we're looking for. But we're gonna mess it up. I don't actually have it here, but it's a good habit to have, especially when you're doing metallic paints like this, to have two different water cups, because if you use the water cup that you use the metallic paints for, it gets those little flecks in there. And I have had situations where I come back and I clean my brush in between sets, and whatever acrylic that I'm using gets those metal flecks, and you get like a shiny brown or a sparkly brown, which is not what we want. So be careful with that. If you're doing metal, just be aware of how much you use that water cup, because if you really saturate it with the metal, that is little like glitter flecks, and they're gonna get into your other paints. It'll stick inside the brush, and it'll not ruin, but it'll make it more difficult to get the colors that you actually want, instead of a sparkly whatever. And you won't see it until the very end, by the way. So it's gonna ruin it after you finish, which is always what happens. You're taking pictures of the final product, and you're like, man, it looks really good from 4 feet away. You take a picture, and you're like, shit, it looks terrible. So be aware. Okay. Getting pretty dry. Let's do the other side. Something that I noticed with this particular Vallejo paint is that it separates really quickly. I don't know if it's because it is able to be put in the airbrush directly, but it's got a really low separation time. So if you leave it on your palette or your wet palette or whatever it is that you use to hold the paints in between colors, it's gonna separate, and you'll have to mix it again. And if you have other paints on there, it can even get into them because it kind of not pools, but it wanders, it drifts. So you can't tell me where to be. I'll be wherever I freaking want. All right. By the way, I hope everybody likes those little clips that I post, especially the ones that are like little tutorials. I'm gonna try to do more of those because those are actually helpful. Me yapping Zoomer talk is not what people come to see. Fellow Zoomers. Not even close. You'll never guess. Yeah, maybe you'll guess. I kind of gave it away last stream when I said memory card. Anyone caught that? When these kids are gonna hear that, I'm like, I can't relate at all. What are you talking about, old man? Hurry up and transfer your wealth to me and die. Not yet. I have to spend it all on a vacation, and then you'll get what's left, kid. Oh, I saw a horrible boomer post earlier this week. So the boomer post that I saw was this person had found their husband's letters of acceptance to colleges because their parents had been keeping them from them. They could have gone to Harvard, Cornell, West Point, the top schools in the nation. And when they confronted them about it, they said, we didn't want to drive to that place. Can you imagine the mindset of the person who says, we gimped your future because we didn't want to be slightly inconvenienced for a small portion of time? That's such a boomer mindset, specifically like with what they're doing to the world's finances and so on. Freaking crazy. Anyway, this is the political stream, not the painting stream apparently. Let's get back to painting. Okay, so this is dry. So it's now just kind of shiny black. So that worked really well. We're gonna make it darker though. So like I said, we're gonna create this little stipple brush. I'll show you how to do that. So get the sponge, a little piece torn off, get a little smaller. There we go, something like this. And then when you grab it with this little tool, it'll look something like that. Let's get a little piece of paper, kind of show you what is the back of the duck picture that a lot of people seem to like. A little duck drawing. I mean, I'm happy about it, but this is the painting stream, not the doodle stream. But I'm happy you liked it. Thank you. Thank you for the comments on that. Okay, so get a little black on the sponge brush, and we're gonna dab until it looks like something like this. So zoom in a little bit for you. So it looks kind of like a very light stipple. So we use this to make the metal look worse because we want it to look gross. So let's get it in areas where there would be natural shadow. So like this little area here, and we're just lightly tapping it. We're giving the metal, I'm gonna call it character. Doesn't that sound sophisticated? A little character to the metal. We're the high vocabulary stream here. We use eloquence and soliloquy. There's a certain joie de vivre, you might say. Shut up. Nobody cares. Folks, it's using words like that is like writing cursive. no one knows what the hell you're talking about or how to read. I've come into situations where people don't know how to read cursive anymore. That makes me feel weird. Like I'm writing in a dead language. Not that I write cursive all the time. Even the people who wrote cursive all the time back when they were teaching that in school, they were also weird, by the way. Just watching somebody write in cursive on purpose, casually. The only people I knew who did that were psychos. I'm just kidding. I'm sure they're very fine people. I'm sure they're venture capitalists or something like that. Investing in things that I could never invest in. Okay, so we're grossing up this metal, giving it some pox, giving it some nastiness. And then we're gonna do this same technique. Actually kind of doing it all over, but that's working. So it's making it look kind of less shiny, which is what we wanted. Okay. I don't know that I need to do the bottom. I mean, I will. I'm a completionist. Which really means, once again, let's make the part that nobody will see hyper detailed because I'll know and nobody else will. And I can't paint on camera. Get that in focus. Hold this guy steady. Hope this is interesting enough for you. Or if it's not, it's like ASMR. Oh, he's talking about painting. Not getting too political, not getting too loud. This is the quiet stream. I should figure out my niche. I don't know that I have one yet. Right now it's kind of off the cuff. Shooting from the hip. That's the key. Keep using euphemisms that nobody knows what the hell you're talking about. That's the key. Alright. So we did enough of that. The next color, I've found it's better to use just a different piece of sponge. If you're going to change colors, don't try and rinse and clean the sponge. Just discard that little piece and get another one. These are $0 almost. If you can find a pack of these, this individual slice is probably a couple cents. They also have those like art supply brushes that are those foam triangular ones, the ones that are like trapezoids. You can just get those, and those work just fine too. Just rip off a little piece and do the same thing. And you don't even really need this grabber tool. I've had people literally take the corner of this thing and do the same. It's just easier to control with this little grabber thing, if you can find one. I actually don't know where I got this from. I've had it for so long. I just found it recently, and I'm like, oh yeah, that'll work well for that thing that I'm trying to do. Anyway, so next part is to highlight it. So for this, we're gonna use a silverish metal. So we're gonna use just a slightly lighter, or we can use a matte gray. Actually, you know what? Let's do the gray. Let's make it a kind of. No, we'll use metal. We'll do a different style than the body to differentiate the objects. We're talking about theory today. So I have another one here called dark aluminum, but as you can see, it's very much lighter. So the key with this is going to be sparing. Only use it in areas where it's going to be super highlighted. See how we do. And if it doesn't turn out, we're gonna lie and say it was the way it's supposed to be the entire time. I didn't mess up, you messed up. You just don't understand art. This art isn't bad. You're bad. A lot of Billy and Mandy fans know what I'm talking about. Okay. Yeah, so that's going to be super bright against this metal. So the highlighted parts from the front, because we're still making sure the light is coming from this angle, from the front angle, is going to be the top here. So I'm going to use the same viewpoint to give it that light illusion. So it's really just going to be like this. I'm probably going to hit a little... Try not to hit the glove. But be light with this, as light as you can, because that is super bright compared to the rest of it. Okay. Hitting that little elbow guard a little bit, but that's okay because that's gonna get adjusted. Okay. And don't get too scared. It's gonna look a little weird, but we're gonna do a wash over this to kind of unify because it is super bright. Okay. So now we have this. So you can see pretty much the top of the weapon has been stippled like that. Let's show you a little bit closer. So from this angle, the angle that we chose for the beginning, you can see those little reflections. So it mimics the same light pattern as the one we did at the front. Trying to keep consistent here. So to make it more uniform with the rest of the body, we're going to use a little wash. And we're going to do it before we do the gold filigree because we really want it to stand out. And let's see. Wash that I want is... Where are you? I'm not organized. Here we are. Grimdark Shadow. The reason we like this one is you'll see it's got a little bit of a green hue in there. So it's kind of gross. It's gonna make it look a little dirty. I like this better than, say, just a dark wash, because that does accentuate the shadows, but it doesn't give it that nasty feeling that we want. This isn't like a Nurgle guy, but he's been around a while in the Dark Cells. And it hasn't been cool. Okay. So let's see if I can show you here. So here's the wash. Probably not going to be able to see it in the camera here, but you'll be able to see how green it is. Maybe. If I spread it a little bit. There's a green tint. We're going to put that pretty much all over this thing. To dull those shiny effects. But because it's so much brighter than the rest of it, it'll still shine through, but now it's going to have that nasty effect on it, which is going to look great. It's all about cheating, folks. Miniature painting. Do the cheat method. Okay. So once that dries, you're going to see how dull that makes this silver. And you can already kind of tell that the green is working really well. Working really, really well, actually. To the other side. Because we've got serious obsessive problems. No one's going to see this. But on the off chance that they do, I'm not going to be caught with my pants down. That same kind of feeling, like if you know you're going to have guests and you clean behind the fridge. Or somebody asks you to do something if you're a little younger. Somebody says, oh, we're going to have guests over. Make sure that you dust behind the bookshelf. And then you're like, what kind of a clinically insane person is looking behind the bookshelf for dust? That's where we should have dust. If they look back there and there's dust, they're like, oh, this is a well-adjusted family that doesn't have slave labor or something like that. But no, it's perfectly clean. Opposite. There's some psychopaths in that house, and you should be afraid because they're looking at you every time you put your cup down. Like, did you use the coaster? Be careful. Anyway. Stories from real life, folks. I'm just kidding. That never happened to me. Okay. That's drying. What color should we make the blade? What did we decide? I think we decided purple again. I think we're probably going to stick with that. But I think we're going to do maybe a different scheme of purple. Because we've been going pretty pink with it before. Let's make it a darker plum. How about that? Everybody likes plum. Okay. And last we have to do some nasty gold. We are actually going to be hyper obsessive and do the filigree maybe with a little bit of a brown underneath. Maybe not. A little too. I'm not gonna put the filigree is so tiny that if I put brown on it and then put the gold over it, it's likely to overflow. I might just stick with another wash afterwards. See how we feel. You can even mix the wash with the paint. We might try that. In fact, we'll do that. See if that helps. We're experimenting on this stream. I've never done this, so we're gonna find out together how that works. Get Alicam. I'm not above making this look terrible. Because that was the point of this whole project, is to try a bunch of new techniques that I've been too scared to try, but we're gonna do it on camera. As a challenge to myself. So we're mixing the wash from before to see if we can tint this gold into being a little nastier. Add a little more of that wash, actually. Probably too much, but we're gonna see. There we go. It's looking a little older, a little grosser, a little greener. Green from dirt and grime. These guys don't sweat, so I don't know that that's a good way to describe it. But that's what we want. I'm gonna give that a try. See how it looks. Once this dries. It's taking forever to dry. Did I put too much? No. See this? It's looking shiny and nasty. And we put that gross gold on it, it's gonna look in line with everything else. Okay. Let's get something thin enough. Here we are. Do the 3/10. Zoom in. Focus up. Okay. Gold is actually really nice. I'm gonna do this again for something else. We call this. It's not Nurgle gold. That'd be something else. Here is, yeah, bad eyes like me. Sort of tap first. Kind of gauge when you actually hit the thing, because I can't tell. And don't necessarily feel, especially with this type of style, that it needs to be perfect coverage. Because if there's like little chips and gaps in between areas of the filigree, it gives it even more of that dirty look. Like, oh, that chip, that's not a chip, that's like a piece of dirt that's blocking the shine. But it'll accentuate the places that do shine. I'm sure there's some sort of art term that says, oh, imperfection is the part of beauty, or some pretentious crap like that. They're really just lying. I messed up at that part. I didn't mean it to look like that. But I'm gonna tell you that it was supposed to be that way, and you just don't understand. Because you're uncultured, you Philistine. Pay more money for this art. There we go. Yeah, it's definitely a nice tinted gold there. Another way some people do it is if you're doing the whole thing, like I've seen like a Grimdark Custodes before that wasn't Shadowkeeper like this one. A good way to do Grimdark gold is like that one technique that I showed you at the beginning, the brown undercoat and then the gold on top, dry brushed on top. If you have an airbrush, another way is to paint this that dark silver. If you want it to be a dark grimdark style, and then do a orange ink over the top. That will give you a really deep burnished gold. It can be too intense. Be careful with that orange, because it'll just make it look orange. But you have to kind of do a light coat over the dark silver, but it has to be a dark silver, or a regular silver. It has to be metallic. So we're talking metallic and then non-metallic orange ink, not a non-metallic metal scheme. If you just put the orange ink over regular acrylic, it won't turn out. It'll just be orange. Okay. You can get kind of creative with what areas you want to be this gold on the weapon, because it's another reason Custodes are easy to paint is because in the lore, it's lore accurate that every Custodes is different and their armor is unique, meaning you can F up and paint an area wrong and just say like, oh no, this is his This is his special gear that is unique to him. Again, like I said, just lie. Lie to your friends and loved ones. Lie and tell them that it was intentional, and they'll think you're a great artist. That's the key. Go. Any areas that I accidentally get gold on, I'm gonna come back with that black stipple method and just go real heavy on that little area, because it will create that shadow effect deeper and it'll make it seem dirtier. So it'll just add to that kind of mystique that we're looking for. That this guy's been roughed up. He's had a heck of a time. He's been dealing with a lot of jerks lately, a lot of no good scoundrels. Just real rapscallions, you know what I'm saying? Ne'er-do-wells. Skylarks. General buffoonery going on. Yeah. I really like this green gold that we made here. Turned out super nice. I'm gonna do the wing a little bit just because I want to see what it looks like in this big of a surface area. I might even do it over that spear tip again. That spike thing. That's technically part of the weapon. And again, this is like a separate object from the body. So it's supposed to have a different hue. It's got its own personality. Should be the same style, but it's gonna be... It's the metal that they use for the... I made fun of myself. I made fun of people who did with the leather last time, but the metal is different than the metal on the weapon is different than the metal used on the body. So it's okay to have different schema. Not all the right word. Okay. By the way, on story time last time, when I was giving the story about memory cards, dating myself, but at the same time, I did have a couple of people who were curious what game, and I put it in the description of one of the clips that I put up. It was Phantasy Star Online, if anyone remembers that, on the GameCube. I don't know if you... That was my introduction to like an MMO style game, and boy, let me tell you, me and my brothers got into some real spats over who's gonna get the memory card this week to themselves, because I had two stepbrothers. And we lived in different houses at the time. And we would split it between us. 1 week, the other would get it. And I'll say, oops, I forgot to bring it, was a fairly common occurrence. And you know what parents said? Oh, you know, oops. Whoopsie. Many a spat. Take a look at that. I think that looks pretty swell. Pretty darn right good. Okay, that's a blue ribbon nasty gold right there. You win the prize for grossest gold. Please get away from me with that gold. I don't want it near my house or my family. Look at that. That could definitely go on like an armor scheme. I'm gonna remember this for next time. Mix that Grimdark Shadow with Retributor armor. And look at that nasty old gold. And it's still gold. It's not a brass, which is, again, like some people, I've seen people do that sepia wash. Nah. No. We're talking about kind of grimy gold. It's dirty from battle. It's not just regular dirt. This is like blood and sweat and nastiness. Swamp water. That kind of thing. Good stuff. I am gonna put that on this little spikely. Spike. Shit, I just got it somewhere where I really didn't want it. That's okay. I'll fix that. That's the other thing about metallics, is that you get it where you don't want it. It's actually still, if it's on a piece where it's still metallic, it's not that bad, because metallics are very, very opaque. In just a couple of coats, it'll fix. The blade, I'm not worried about at all, because we can go over that with white again. There we go. Nasty gold. And we're gonna highlight this even more with that stipple. We might even highlight, should we? We might even highlight the nasty gold using a little bit of the normal gold. Like we'll get a little bit of that just on the edges of certain areas to make sure that, you know, like if you scraped it, that pure gold is still there underneath somewhere. Visual storytelling, folks. That's what we're going for. Visual storytelling. Not environmental storytelling, Todd Howard. Visual storytelling. They're different. Get that. Pull back is already bothering me. I'm gonna go kind of back and forth. Go with the original metal that we used. So this is me fixing this little area. So you can kind of see above the bird head where I got a little bit of that nasty gold. I'm gonna try, and I'm gonna hit the bird head and even a little of the but actually that's looking pretty good. There we go. Just about fixed. And it even actually helps a little bit with that over highlight that we did, because when you do it, it still leaves a little bit of that little highlight poking through, which is why we really like the sponge. If we want to, we do. You can even add a little bit of it back, just to. We're getting playful here, folks. Okay, so I completely covered the gold area, but that's easy enough to fix. So the little filigree and then the bird head, we can just go over that again. Same thing with the spike. Very easy fix, just like this. Watch. Boom. Just gonna try not to make that same mistake and hit the bottom there. Okay. Looking good. Okay. Fix the filigree. It's too wet. Remember what I said earlier. In another stream, be aware of the dampness of the brush and how much you've loaded it. Because especially, can't stress this enough, if you're going over little detail like this and you have an overly damp brush, the surface tension will just take over and it will flood the area. It'll be merciless. Then you're gonna have to do double work. And some people say, isn't that fun? Isn't that fun when you paint it twice? No. I like to move on to another project, please. There we go. I always like to make this little circlet right there gold. I don't know why. I just think it stands out really nicely. A nice little contrast. I am pro this little button being a gold piece, gang. And if you don't like it, you can pick a less controversial thing to be mad about. All right. Look how fast that was. And look how good it turned out. Boom. We haven't even done the other side, but nobody's gonna see it. We'll still do it though. And from the front, take a look how that bad boy looks. Boom. Look at that shine. Look at that highlight. Look at how it matches the style of nastiness. We are gonna make, this is gonna be a really, really nicely done guy by the end of this whole thing. Get a few more coats on here. I wonder if this 5 p.m. stream did any better than the other ones. I know it was a little late. I apologize. OBS crashed right at the beginning when I tried to start. That was hard to overcome. Had to restart the entire computer. But we move, we ball. God, stop! Don't ever say shit like that. You kidding me? It's not my generation. That's not my scene. And if anybody has any suggestions of what they'd like to see next on a stream, or like a technique that they want to see done, I am open to any suggestions. Leave it in the comments. DM me on Twitter. Send me a message on YouTube, anything. I am open to suggestion. Or if you think I'm shit, you know, that's fine too. This is a swear stream. Kind of a mixture. I'm saying the old S word a lot. Do one more little area. There we go. Boom. Guardian Spear. I hope y'all like it. That's the end of this stream. We did it. We're victorious. We did some nasty metal. Hope y'all liked it. See you next time. See you tomorrow. We're adding tomorrow at 5 p.m. It'll be a little bit longer tomorrow. And we're going to tackle some more detail, and we're finally going to do the other pauldron. I found the silly putty, so we're going to make it happen. All right, guys. See you tomorrow.